In this module, we are going to learn how the organisms respond to different abiotic factors. Organisms, they maintain a constant internal environment, and that phenomenon is called as homeostasis. Despite whatever be the external conditions, environmental conditions, whatever be the flexibility of the environmental conditions, organisms try to maintain a homeostasis, that is internal the environment is maintained at a constant level. And this is by the following processes: regulate, confirm, migrate, and suspend. What do you mean by regulate? It is the maintenance of homeostasis by different physiological and behavioral means. That is, they maintain a constant internal temperature by means of different physiological and behavioral means. It ensures constant body temperature, that is thermoregulation, and constant osmotic concentration, that is osmoregulation. So two regulations takes place: one is thermoregulation and osmoregulation. Who are the regulators, or who are able to do regulation? All birds and mammals, and very few lower invertebrates and vertebrates. They are able to regulate, that is maintain constant environment by thermoregulation and osmoregulation. How is thermoregulation done in mammals? The success of mammals, we know we are the best survivors on the biosphere. And it is mainly due to the ability to maintain a constant temperature. In summer, when the outside temperature is more than the internal body temperature, we start to sweat. And why do we sweat? This results in evaporative cooling and brings down the body temperature. So that is the reason why we sweat when the external temperature exceeds the internal body temperature. It brings about a cooling effect. Whereas when it is cold, that is in winter, when the temperature is below the internal body temperature, that is 37 degrees Celsius, we start to shiver. Shivering produces heat and thus raises our body temperature. And that is how mammals are able to bring about regulation. Thermoregulation is energetically expensive, especially for very small animals. It is an expensive process. For example, small animals like shrews, hummingbirds, they have a larger surface area relative to their volume. That is, compared to their volume, the surface area is greater. So they lose body heat very fast when it is cold outside. Then they have to expend more energy to generate body heat. Therefore, very small animals are rare in polar regions, because when the external temperature is very low, what happens? In order to propel heat, or in order to produce heat, it is a highly energetic, or it is a highly energy expensive process. So they have to expend much amount of energy to generate body heat, because their body surface is greater even though the volume is very low. And that is why smaller animals are very rare in polar regions. So these are the shrews and hummingbirds, which have very small or larger body surface when compared to their volume, and that is why they are absent in the polar regions. Next is about the next type of organisms, that is conformers. They conform. 99% of the animals and nearly all plants, they cannot maintain a constant body temperature or internal environment. Their body temperature or osmotic concentration, they change with the surrounding. That means they are cold-blooded organisms. And such organisms whose body temperature and osmotic concentration vary according to the outside environment is called as conformers. In aquatic animals, osmotic concentration of the body fluids changes with that of the ambient osmotic concentration in which they are surviving. So here we can see the regulators. And regulators, what do? They are able to maintain a constant temperature no matter whatever be the external temperature. So conformers are those organisms whose internal environment changes according to their external environment, whereas regulators, they do not change the internal environment with the external environment. They maintain constant temperature and osmotic concentration. The third process is migration. Many animals, like birds, move away temporarily from a stressful habitat to a more hospitable area and return when stressful period is over. and we know that process is called as migration. An example of migration is during winter, the Koilado National Park, that is at Bharatpur in Rajasthan. It hosts many migratory birds coming from Siberia and other extremely cold northern regions where the environment is very hostile for them to survive. And only after the environment becomes comfortable or it becomes less hostile, they return back to their environment. Last is suspend. In bacteria, fungi, and lower plants, we know they reproduce asexually by means of spores. And they have thick walled spores which help to survive unfavorable conditions. And we know spores germinate on the return of favorable conditions. That means they are able to suspend their metabolic activities for a time being until a favorable condition is arrived. It is not only seen in bacteria, fungi, and lower plants, it is also seen in higher plants in the form of seeds. Seeds and some vegetative reproductive structures like rhizomes. What do? They serve to tide over periods of stress by reducing their metabolic activity. They reduce their metabolic activity and they go into a stage called as dormancy, and they germinate under favorable moisture and temperature. In animals, example, there are three different types of processes. Hibernation, which occurs during winter. Hibernation is winter sleep. Aestivation is occurring in some snails and fishes, that is summer sleep, which is occurring during summer. And diapause is a stage of suspended development, which is seen in many zooplanktons, microscopic organisms, microscopic animals, in the case which is seen in lands and ponds. They suspend their metabolic activity and go into a stage called as diapause. So that's about the organisms is to respond to abiotic stresses, namely regulate, confirm, migrate, and suspend. Thank you.